Hi guys, are you there? Can you all hear me? Good. I'm excited to introduce our new ambassadors. We met last night. I think I have Brindley Rhodes on. Brindley, are you there?
Yep.
Okay, Brindley Rhodes is from Snowville. I have Valerie Skidmore. She can't talk to us. I think I have Cooper Branch. Are you on there, Cooper?
Yeah.
And Cooper's also from Snowville. So they're on the meeting with us tonight. I know Garrett tried to join and I don't think he's been able to get on. We also have Aaron Ward this year, Chloe Stokes, Kaylee Eddington, Taylor Tanner, Josie Tanner, and Brooklyn Buell. So there you go. Those are our new ambassadors for the year.
I'm Baldwin.
Oh yeah, Brindley Baldwin, sorry.
Well, thank you. We'd like to thank Trudy for all that she does with our ambassadors as the advisor. And we'd like to thank all of our ambassadors for putting forth the effort for applying and being selected to represent the livestock portion of our youth development programs. And so you will see them taking part in our future meetings. They'll help to welcome you. They'll help to teach you. And these are amazing ambassadors. Most of them have had years and years of experience in livestock and in the show ring. And so they're going to be the kids that you're going to want to reach out to and ask questions to and get to know. Is there anything else, Trudy, that you'd like to mention?
No, I think we're good for the night. I was hoping more people was able to get on, but they're all busy with sports and some other stuff. So we'll give them the bye for tonight. Thanks,
well,
Josh.
We appreciate you. Thank you. All right, I'm going to go ahead and try and share my screen here. And we're going to get right into this topic of livestock etiquette. So let me get this up here and make sure that everybody can see it. Hey, can everybody see my full screen? I can't see. Let me find somebody. The Rose family. Can you give me thumbs up? You can see my screen. All right, there you go. Perfect. All right, so let's get started with this livestock etiquette and maybe try and understand a little bit better about what it really means, okay? So when you guys hear etiquette, and I want you to unmute your microphones or type in the chat, whichever one you feel comfortable with, but what is etiquette to you? When you hear the word etiquette, what do you think about? Go ahead and unmute if you want to. And
I think it's like being polite to not only the people around you, but yourself.
Perfect. Thanks, Ellie. That's exactly right. So being polite to yourself and the people around you, I like that. Looks like from the Palais, we got politeness. We got courtesy and gratefulness coming in, having manners, hard work and teamwork. Good manners and being polite, how you act in certain situations, having good manners, perfect, being polite. All right, good. We got a lot of manners and politeness. I like that hard work and teamwork. We have a fancy, being fancy. I like that. Kindness. I really like that too. Okay, perfect. Being kind to everyone. I love that. Okay, so etiquette has a lot of different things that we can focus on. And if you look here at this, if you look here at some of these pictures that I threw up here, you can see that we can focus really, really narrowly on certain things. Like how many of you have ever had the chance to learn about proper dinner etiquette? Have you ever learned when you went maybe somewhere fancy and there's more than one fork or lots of different things that are set out, how you should use those and what the etiquette is for that? Raise your hand or maybe put in the chat that you've experienced that. Have you experienced what that is, having a salad plate and a bread plate and maybe your name on a card? Okay, good. All right. So we have some etiquette that we learn that teaches us how to properly make it through that type of a dinner. Okay. And so that's some really fun things to think about when you think about dinner. Okay. How about some of these things over here in this little box on the left where it talks about maybe looking people in the eye when we speak to them, or letting others finish before we speak, or maybe opening the door for one another, right? Have you guys thought about that as etiquette? How many of you have thought maybe that goes into that politeness category, right? We talked about maybe manners or being polite. Do you think those are important? Maybe get some thumbs up. Perfect, good. All right. Now, see if I can get my screen to advance here. Here we go. So let's look at what the actual definition is, right? So we kind of gave our own definitions, and the definition of etiquette is the customary code of polite behavior in society or among members of a particular profession or group, okay? So the code of polite behavior, all right? So I want you guys to think about that, the code of polite behavior. So we're gonna put your etiquette to the test, okay? So I've got some questions, and you're welcome to either use the chat or unmute your microphone, but I want you to answer each of these questions, and we're gonna test what your etiquette is. So here's this one. It says that you see a woman struggling to open a door because she has a squirmy baby on one arm and a shopping bag on the other. If you have good etiquette, what would you do? Go ahead and either unmute your microphone or type it in the chat. Okay, we got some coming in. Help to open the door. Good answers. You open the door for her. That's perfect. Good, or help. Help in any way, right? Maybe she wants you to hold the bag or what, because she can't get her keys out of the car or something like that. I really like that. Okay, perfect. Take the bag. Ask her what you can help her with. Good answers. Really good, you guys. I love to see these types of answers. Perfect. Okay, let's go on to our next question. So some kids at school made fun of your best friend's new haircut. What should you do? They made fun of your best friend's new haircut. What should you do? Say stop, good. Go to the principal, stand up for your friends, good. Stand up to them. Tell them to not do that, that's good. Comfort them. Punch the kids. Maybe not great etiquette if we're punching, but good. Build your friend up by telling them it's good. I like this stuff. Stand up for them. Stop telling the kids to tell them to stop, be rude, stick up for them. These are good answers, guys. This is really good. I like what you're coming up with here. Okay, here's the next one. A new family just moved in next door, and you've noticed that one of the children looks to be about your age. What should you do? Good job. Say hi, introduce yourself, make friends, ask them to come play, go and talk to them. Very good. I like those answers. Introduce yourself. Perfect. See how they're doing. Love these answers. Good. Make friends. I really like that. Great job. Okay, I think I've got one more. You just heard a juicy piece of gossip about one of the girls in your class at school, and you're itching to text your best friend and share the news. What should you do? What should you do? All right, good. Keep the information to yourself. Don't text your best friend. Stop the rumors. Good. Say nice things. Don't repeat it. Very good. Very good, you guys. Leave it be. I like these answers, okay? Ask if the info's correct. Stop the rumor. Don't do it. Very good. Okay. I can see from the responses that we've got in our chat that you guys understand some of the very good quality principles of etiquette and how we should act and what we should do when we act and react to certain situations. And that is very good. So a question that I have is, should we always have etiquette on our mind, Or is that just something for these dinner parties or these scenarios, these car doors, all these things that we talked about? Is that just scenarios for those types of situations? Or should it be something that's always on our mind? Good, we have somebody that says, yeah, we should always. We should always have it on our mind. That's perfect. Okay, and so with that being said, okay, if we should always have it on our mind and have it in our thoughts every day, what about in and out of the livestock show ring? Do you think that etiquette and manners matter there? Or is that just something that's completely different? Yeah, good. We see lots of yeses. Yes, they do. Always yes. Okay, perfect. Really like these responses. Good. So etiquette does matter, and we're going to talk a little bit about what that means in the show ring. And I'm actually going to read this quote from Mary McLaughlin. I really thought that it was a nice quote to start out what we're going to talk about when it comes to livestock show ring etiquette. So it says, etiquette is the customary and polite way to conduct yourself in the show ring. Good etiquette makes the show ring run smoothly, resulting in a less stressful experience for showmen and animals alike. When exhibitors are courteous and polite, the judge notices. Lack of understanding of basic show ring etiquette or deliberately thoughtless behavior disrupts the show and demonstrates a lack of respect for the show, the judge, and other exhibitors. So I was doing a lot of research as I was preparing for this topic. This was a topic that our junior livestock board felt really strongly about us presenting on and talking about. And so I wanted to figure out some things that I could maybe share with you that hopefully would make it so that you understood a little bit better of some of the things that we ought to do and experience while we are either in or out of the show ring when it comes to etiquette. And there was a really good resource called the Stock Show Stories, and Christina Ward was the author. So we're going to go through and talk a little bit. There was 4 points that Christina brought up that I thought were really, really important. And we're going to talk a little bit about those and maybe ask you to share some of your thoughts. And then we're going to go on to some other things. So the first thing that, that was mentioned is to be respectful. And I love this quote right here, and I'm going to read it to you and I want you to think about it. Christina says, no judge I've ever seen has judged a junior show, been stared down by a kid, and reversed their decision. In fact, it's highly likely that the rest of the day will go poorly for that kid. Okay? So what do you think about that? Do we sometimes maybe not agree fully with maybe a decision that a judge has made? Can I get a thumbs up? Maybe sometimes we think, I thought my calf was better than that, or I thought I showed better than that today, right? We think so? Yeah, I got some thumbs up, good. Does it do us any good to give them the stink eye and be nasty? Does it? Probably not. Let's see some of those comments. No, it doesn't. It doesn't do us any good to give them the stink eye and be nasty, okay? But respect goes farther than just for the judge, right? Who else should we be respectful to when we are there at a show? Who else should we be respectful to? Let's see that come into the chat. Good, we have everyone, right? So, you know, other contestants, perfect. Other exhibitors, your competitors, okay, the judge, everyone, okay? How about the directors and the volunteers that volunteer their time to put the show together, right? We should be really, really grateful to them for all their time. Perfect, okay? So we need to be respectful to everyone, and we need to have that good, respectful attitude, because that's showing proper etiquette in the show ring, right? And it's a reflection of who we are, right? We need to be kind, like we talked about, and do the right things all of the time, especially when we're in the show ring. Okay. All right, now, Here we go to our next stock show stories number 2. It says be authentic, okay? And it says be the best you. Now I'm going to tell you guys a little story about being authentic, and you're okay to laugh at me if you'd like to. But when I was probably the same age as some of you guys, I was just leaving 5th grade and going to the 6th grade. How many, do we have anybody on that's in the 6th grade right now? Is there anybody? Oh, I got some hands. Okay, we got some hands of 6th graders. Okay, well, when I went to the 6th grade, I went from the teeny tiny town of Bear River City, and I went in to Adele C. Young Intermediate School. I went into Brigham City. And I had only one friend that was in my elementary school class that went into Brigham City with me. And that one friend, believe it or not, he was not in any of my core classes. And so I had to figure out how to make new friends. Well, at home, I really like to wear my cowboy boots, and I really like to show my livestock animals and ride my horses and do all that other fun stuff. But boy, when I went to my core class, lots of kids didn't like to do any of that. And in fact, I kind of got made fun of because I like to wear those types of clothes. And so do you know what I did? I didn't stay authentic. I wasn't the best me. In fact, my sisters tell me that I kind of became a gangster. Can you believe that? Can you believe that I was once a gangster? I had spiky hair and it was bleached blonde, and I wore these big chain necklaces and baggy black pants, and I wore these skater shoes and all these crazy things because I wanted so badly to fit in that I wasn't authentic. And I'll tell you what, one day when I'm better prepared, I'll show you guys, you ask me, I'll find my 6th and 7th grade pictures, and you can see how I looked when I was a gangster. And I know that's kind of funny to think about, right? But I realized that I wasted a few years of my life being somebody that I wasn't, right? Now, I share that story with you because when we're somebody that we aren't all the time, especially when we bring that back to the show ring and we're not being authentic or being our best selves, can that be hurtful to ourselves? And can that be hurtful to others? What do you think? Yeah, it can, right? So we need to be authentic. The other thing that we need to be when it talks about authentic is, have you ever seen sometimes somebody that's generally just a chill cat, and they're pretty chill, and they just are going along just normal and happy, but they maybe don't smile all the time like this, right? Would it be authentic to go into the show ring and go like this the whole time when they just kind of are more pleasant, and they have just a normal, just pleasant face, and they want to maybe be a little bit more intense? Nah, right? Authenticism is being who you are. So if you're a naturally smiley person, like when I'm a judge and I go out and I judge, I can tell who the people are that are really smiley all the time, and that's okay. And I can tell the people that are a little bit more serious, and that's okay. But we need to be our best selves, and we need to make sure that we're very authentic, okay? Good. Now you guys will always remember that Josh was a gangster. Okay, now the next thing that they pointed out was to be helpful, okay? Now, can we be helpful inside and outside of the ring? There's a lot to do when we're at the fair, isn't there? There is a lot to do, whether we're at the fair or we're at a stock show, okay? So what are some things, I want to hear from you, what are some things that we could do outside of the ring? What are some things that we could do to be helpful outside of the ring, whether we're at the fair or with our FFA chapter, our 4-H club? What are some things that we could do to be helpful? I love that. Help put up hog pens, help friends with homework, be courtesy of your pen mates. Good. Keep the aisles and pens clean for showing. Good. Help someone. Be kind and ask if they need help. Watch out for the elderly coming to the fair, right? And help them. I love that. Great, great, great examples. Listen to the directors. I love that. Good job, Kennedy. Okay, so those are some really, really good responses. Now, what about inside of the ring? I'll tell you what, I want to read this little quote right here. It says, if someone's animal stalls in front of you, help them out. It will showcase your respect to your fellow showman, and it will help with the ring flow, and it will help overall to assist the judge, okay? So if you're walking to your steer and the steer in front of you just doesn't want to quite move, you might just grab that tail and give it a little twist and get the calf moving ahead, or you might hit the go button on a lamb or a goat or something like that to help, okay? Now, be careful because you don't want to lose your animal in the process, but if you have the opportunity to be helpful in that ring, that is a great way to showcase really, really good ethics. I love this. Yep, being courteous and kind and helpful. I love those types of things. Good job. Okay, let's move on to the fourth thing here. I really, really like this one, and I want everybody to think about this. Things will go wrong. Handle it right. Okay? I remember it was one of my senior shows, and I had my lamb all ready to go, and it was all white and pretty and fluffed up, and I was out there showing in a showmanship class, and the lamb behind me got really excited, and to this day I can still remember that lamb jumping up, and it smashed its foot right on the back of my clean white lamb, and guess what? I had a perfectly marked brown hoof print mark right in the middle of my lamb's loin, right? And I thought, oh, I practiced, I've tried, I've done whatever. And I had two choices at that point. I could have been really mad and given up, or I could have dusted it off and done my very best and kept showing, right? How many of you have had similar experiences, whether it's in the show ring or out of the show ring, right? Do things always go right? Do they always go right? Let's see, let's go back to our chat so I can see it. No, they don't always go right. They don't, right? What about with these animals that we practice and practice and practice with? Even if they are just absolutely wonderful at home, do they sometimes turn into little stinkers in the show ring? Can they do that? Yeah, they can, right? And sometimes the ones that are little stinkers at home, especially at the fair, I like that, Brinley, that's right. Sometimes the ones that are little stinkers at home come to the show ring and they act like they've done that a million times, right? So sometimes we just don't know what's going to happen, but we do know that we can plan on something maybe not going just right, but the one thing that we've got to make sure that we do, no matter what we're dealt with, is we've got to handle it the right way. Now, I want to read this quote from Christina because I just love it, okay? And it goes along with a lot of the other things that we've talked about tonight. It says this: you aren't always going to agree with the placings, and that's fine, right? Sometimes we don't agree with certain things, but that's okay. Now, she says, remember that these people are probably your current or future friends that you're showing against, okay? Don't hijack that potential by acting inappropriately. Some of our fiercest competitors, both growing up and even today, are our best friends. The bottom line is that as a showman, you need to always handle yourself with class. And that is showmanship and show ring etiquette, okay? Remember that it's not worth us being mean. It's not worth us being gossipy like we talked about in that first thing, right? We want to celebrate the successes of our friends, and we would hope that they would celebrate our successes with us as well, right? What do you guys think about that? What do you think about it? I'm going to the chat here. Good. All right, we're agreeing on that stuff, right? So we got to make sure that we remember those things, right? And you know, it goes back to the other thing too. There's a judge out there that they've asked to come, and that judge has certain opinions on how he likes animals, right? And so we've got to be really, really careful, because maybe that judge decided he liked a lamb more than another lamb, or a steer more than another steer. And it really isn't anything different than you or I walking out there and making that decision, right? So we need to be respectful to the judge. We need to be respectful to our friends and to those that are around us, okay? I love this. It's important to treat people the way that you want to be treated, even if we don't agree. Thank you. That's from Jenny's iPhone. I appreciate that. All right. So here's some just fun little tidbits that I was able to gather from a couple of different sources, okay? So here's some things to think about outside of the ring. Check the program for mistakes before the show begins and let the show officials know politely and immediately. So sometimes we might have our name that's spelled wrong, or sometimes we might not be in the right class. And we know when we weighed in, our steer weighed 1,351 pounds, but he's in a 1,500 pound class. And how can that be, right? Everybody at the fair and everybody at a stock show, most of the time are volunteers, and they're doing the best they can to get all that stuff ready to go. And so they know that they're going to make some mistakes, and it really helps them out when we have people that are polite and wonderful come up and just say, hey, you know what? I think I'm in the wrong spot. Can you help me out? As opposed to coming up and saying, hey, why am I in the wrong class, right? That really makes a big difference in what etiquette is and handling ourselves, okay? Outside of the ring, we need to be ready when our class is called, okay? I'll tell you what, when I go and I judge shows, if somebody comes trotting into the class late, especially a showmanship class, I don't tolerate it. I'm kind of a stinker that way. I figured we'd all planned on starting the show at whatever time of clock it was, right? And boy, everybody knew it, and we'd better be ready to go. And so make sure that you're ready to go that way. It also is kind of rude because then we have to stop where we're at, right? Whether it's a hog or a goat or a lamb or a steer, whatever it is, we have to stop where we're at in the show ring and let that late person come in, and it kind of gets in the way of the flow and everything of that class. All right, listening to the announcer for any changes. Things change, right? We have to make some considerations, and we have to adapt to different things. So we got to be careful and listen to the announcer for any of the changes. We need to pay attention to the number of entries in each class so we give ourselves enough time to get ready. If we have some small classes, maybe only 5 or 6 in a class, maybe 10 in a class, whichever species it might be, that judge might zip through them pretty quickly. And so we need to be aware of that. We need to watch the classes before, if we can, if we're not in the first class, so we know what the judge expects and how he or she's gonna move those animals around the ring and make that work, okay? The other thing is we need to respect our animals outside the ring and treat them humanely, okay? We don't wanna do anything that would harm our animals, and we wanna make sure that we're always treating them with respect, okay? Here's a good one. If you're not showing, you should not disrupt those who are. Keep ringside conversations to a minimum and control your animals, right? Sometimes you'll be right in the middle of a class and somebody will come and hooping and hollering and all sorts of things, and it disrupts the animals in the ring, and it makes it really hard for the showman to pay close attention to what's going on. Lastly, and somebody mentioned this at the very beginning, clean up after yourself. Don't leave fitting supplies, water bottles, halters behind after a show, or even during the show, right in the middle of the alleyways and things like that. Do your very, very best to keep those things out of the way and cleaned up. So those are just some really fun little helpful tidbits there out of the ring that I was able to find that hopefully will be beneficial to you to think about. Now let's talk about some things inside of the ring. Okay, we've got the same thing here about respecting your animals and treating them humanely. And I want to share something with you guys, and I'm going to be very vague about it, but being able to judge shows like I do outside of the state of Utah, I've seen some really interesting things. And I was at a particular show where a young lady was a really good showman. I could tell that she was a really good showman, and she come into the ring with her hog, and the hog started to be a little bit naughty. It didn't want to drive. It didn't want to do the things that she wanted it to do. And the next thing I know, my word, she got really frustrated with that hog. And she started taking that pig whip and she started to really lay into that hog a little bit more than what I thought was comfortable. And even people outside of the ring thought, oh, you could hear them kind of oohing and ahhing a little bit about it. And I was pretty embarrassed for that young lady, and I was pretty nervous about that type of a situation. If our animals decide to be a little bit naughty, we need to do our very best to have proper etiquette and keep them in a safe place and keep ourselves in a safe place, and also be respectful to those that are actually trying to show that maybe have a little bit better cooperation from their animals. As we talked about, sometimes not everything is going to go the way that we plan, but we've got to make sure that we're treating those animals humanely. Okay? Talked about if the animal in front of you doesn't want to cooperate, it's okay to help them. Maybe give them a little push on the tail or do whatever it is to help that exhibitor to move forward. Okay? And I think that's really appropriate to help do that. Sometimes all they need is that little bit of a push, and that'll be all they need to keep that animal moving. Okay? Next one, don't leave the show ring until the class is dismissed. Okay? Sometimes the judge would like to give you praise for the good job that you've done or how well you've raised your animal. Make sure that you don't leave until that class is dismissed. Here's a good one. Never argue with the judge, officials, or the ring steward. If you have a concern, ask an official once you've left the ring. Okay? That's proper etiquette, and it's really disrespectful to have a judge be approached and ask them about why they did what or why they did something else. Okay? We want to make sure that we don't do that while the show is happening. Okay, that's really proper etiquette to not do that. All right, love this. Stay calm while you're in the ring. It's okay to get frustrated, but it's not okay to hurt your pig or your animal. Good job, good comment. Okay, I like this one. Thank the judge for his or her time and feedback after the show. Okay, I love as a judge when kids come up and either give me a fist bump or a handshake and thank me for my time, because it gives me an opportunity to thank them and congratulate them on doing a really nice job as well. Okay. And then our last one here, I talked about this one's a big one for me. Be to the ring on time for your class. You have worked all summer long for that moment. Don't be late. Give yourself plenty of time to get to that ring on time. All right, so those were some things that we gathered from that article and some other information that I was able to research. But I just wanted to share with you guys some thoughts, just some personal thoughts. You can call these Josh's thoughts or whatever you would like. And I wanted to point out here, this is one of our livestock judging teams over at Utah State University from our county. And I just wanted to show you that picture because I thought how sharp they look. They're ready to judge. And I just think it's a really, really, really cool thing to look sharp, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. As we move on here, here's a couple of things that I had that come to mind myself. So the first one is to be prepared. Most of the time when we're prepared and we really work with our animals, that is showcasing to me the greatest etiquette that we could possibly have. Again, we talked about sometimes we can't control how our animal's going to act or what the outcome's going to be when we're in the show ring. But generally, when we work hard at home and we are prepared and we either are driving our hogs or driving our lambs or walking and setting up our steers or driving our goats, and we're practicing and we're practicing and we're practicing and we're becoming more prepared, then we're not going to have as big of a rodeo when we get to the fair. We might have a steer that gets a little flighty. We might have a lamb that jumps a little bit here and there, but those things are going to be controlled more the more that we're prepared. Okay, so I would really, really, really try and persuade you, if I may, to start as early as you can with your animals. Be smart about it. You know, we don't want to work them so hard that we're not gaining weight and those types of things, but we can get them calmed down, we can get them used to us, and we can get working with them early so that we don't have those train wrecks that would affect our ability to have proper etiquette when we get to the fair. Okay. Also, preparation helps with our attitude. When we're prepared and we have all of our supplies ready to go in a timely manner, when we're on time to our shows, when we do those types of things, our attitudes are better. We're confident, we're calm, and we're ready to go. So that's just some thoughts for me as far as being prepared, okay? All right, so here's my next one. Be classy. I want you all to know that I think that most of you are just as classy as they come. And I don't think that there's anything more good looking than when we get out there in our 4-H or our FFA attire and we are looking classy, okay? But not only can we look classy in that attire, we can act classy, right? And this goes back to how we act when we hear rumors or when we are maybe not agreeing with things properly, or maybe there's some things that we think that maybe others might not think the same of, right? We can choose to be classy, and we can choose to be to act the right way and have those etiquette principles that we've talked about, right? What do you guys think of when you hear the word classy when it comes to the show ring? What do you think? Good. Don't give yourself a bad name. I love that, right? When we're classy, we're above that. I like that. A magician or a performer, classy, good. Looking nice, being fancy, good. Walking in and out with a good attitude, being respectful, being proper, having a great behavior. I like that. Having your shirt tucked in and your boots shined. I love that. A rich person, good. Best dressed, being nice. I love that. Good sportsmanship. Being smart but funny. Really nice job. Okay, those are great principles of being classy. And I want you guys to think about that. When you get yourselves ready, think about, I'm going to be classy, and no matter the outcome of what I'm going to accomplish here. Good. Kindness is a winner. Good job. I love those. Good comments, you guys. All right. And here's my last one. So we talked about being prepared and being classy. And the last one that I thought about is I thought about etiquette for talking tonight is being kind. Okay. Does it take a lot of effort to be kind? What do you think? All right, I'm seeing a lot of no's and some yeses, right? It really depends on the situation, but it kind of goes back to that overall topic that we talked about with classy, right? We can choose to be kind, because wouldn't we want others to be kind to us? Who here doesn't want somebody to be kind to you? I think we all want people to be kind to us, right? Right? Do we want people to be kind to us? Right. And I hear that. It depends. It depends on the situation, right? But I think that kindness always wins, and treating others how you want to be treated. And I think that those are good things, okay? So let's think about that. Remember, being prepared, being classy, and being kind, okay? Those are the things I think about when it comes to the livestock etiquette in the show ring. And I think if we all follow those types of things, I think it's going to be a better experience for us, for our families, for our clubs, and for all of our friends that we're showing with, right? Because really, we're one giant family. There's not a lot of people that get to show livestock and be together like we do. And we really are one giant family, and we need to make sure that we are showcasing the etiquette to one another, and the kindness and the love that we all deserve, and treat each other how we want to be treated. Perfect. Good job. All right. With that, you guys, that's about all that I have prepared tonight for etiquette. Are there any questions that you might have when you think about etiquette that you might want to bring up or talk about tonight? It's okay if you don't. But if you have any questions, we'll wait just a few seconds. Wait for those to be generated on here. And while we're waiting for that, if we can, I'm going to, oh, here we go. Here's a really good question. The question was, how should we act if a person puts us down? How should we act if a person puts us down? You guys want to type that into your responses into the chat box? I want to see what you think. I want to see what you think to that question. How should we act if a person puts us down? Okay, don't acknowledge it. Good. Treat them kindly. Act as it never happened. Rebound happy as ever. Tell them they did a good job. Brush it off. Be kind anyway. Try to stay positive. Ignore it. Keep a good attitude. Be cheerful and polite. Thank them for their opinion and move on. Ignore it. Good. I love that. Boy, you guys are inspirational. You really are to me to hear those types of responses. Positive and kindness. I love it. Good job, everybody. Okay. Now, at this time, if you have some more questions or concerns, go ahead and type them in and we'll watch for it. But in order to get credit for tonight, please put your name, which county you're from, and then if you're in 4-H or FFA. And one of the other things I want to make sure you do is if there's multiple of you at home, make sure that everybody's name gets put in there, okay? While you're putting your names in, we just had a question pop up. When watching a beef showman, what's the biggest thing that you look for? Any tips for a new beef showman? Well, Ellie, I'll tell you what, we do have some really good tips. We have some showmanship references that are back on our website if you want to go there. But for me, when I look for a beef showman, I really like how the calf walks around the ring. I like them to hold their head up. I like them to have their show stick out and presentable. And then when they are in a boxed position and or in a scissor step position, I really like to see how they're utilizing that show stick. And I like them to be aware of where I'm at as a judge as I move around. So those are some of the things just quickly that I look for in a showmanship setting for steers. But I encourage you to go look at our showmanship reference that's on the website, and also encourage you to come to our showmanship clinics that we'll have later on in the summer so that you can learn there in person as well. All right, once you guys have got your name and information in, if you don't have any further questions, you're welcome to log out. I hope this has been a good meeting for you tonight. I really appreciate everybody being so responsive and participating in the chat. It's made tonight really fun. It's good to see you all. I can't wait, hopefully in about a month or so, to be able to see you in person. Appreciate you all very, very much. I'll hang on for a little bit longer. Make sure you get your name and information in, and then we will see you later. Thank you.